Good morning. Welcome to In a Pickle Knitting, Vlogtober, day number 4. So today is October 4th, 2018. My name is Donna, and welcome back if you have been watching the Vlogtober mini episodes. And if you haven't been, this is your first time, thanks so much for stopping by. These Vlogtober vlogs are just short snippets of children's literature with a seasonal focus and also a seasonal craft focus. And so today I have another set of books that are parodies, and I had shown you Madeline and Frankenstein being parodies, and this is another set. The set does come in a regular sized book, but I happen to have the board book set, and the books that are typically board books are geared towards very young children, but this particular set I think can be enjoyed all the way up to maybe second or even third grade for the parody book. So the book that it's emulating or copying is Goodnight Moon by Margaret Wise Brown, and you're probably familiar with this classic tale. In the great green room there was a telephone and a red balloon and a picture of the cow jumping over the moon. So that's how it begins. And the parody that I want to share with you for the holiday or the seasonal time period, this is a Halloween bent, is Goodnight Goon, a petrifying parody. This is written by Michael Rex. And so it begins: in the cold gray tomb there was a gravestone and a black lagoon and a picture of Martians taking over the moon. So the parody is very closely parallel to the original story. However, I think in this book, older children, if they have grown up with Goodnight Moon, there are 4 ways to get it, and I get 3 out of 4 wrong. If they are familiar with this story, will appreciate how it parallels the book, because there are parts of the humor that may be directed to a little bit older than children who would be reading a board book, though it's enjoyable by younger and a little bit older. I think up to second, maybe third grade would enjoy the parody. Who knows, maybe even more, because it is that parody. That's always kind of fun. So that's my set of books today, and I did purchase this board book copy from Amazon, and I was not able to get a hardcover full-size edition there, although there may have been some on the secondary market. So my craft for today, if you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw my post yesterday of some pumpkins that I have been knitting, and then yesterday made a crochet version. So to begin, the name of the pattern is Spice Pumpkin, but also, get to the page, Clove Pumpkin. So it's called Spice, the pattern is called Spice and Clove Pumpkin, and it is by Hannah Maurer, and I'll put the name down here. This is you can find it on Ravelry, but you don't, it's a free pattern. You don't get the download through Ravelry, but if you go to Ravelry, you can type in Spice and Clove Pumpkin. It'll bring you to the pattern, and then that will direct you when you ask for the free copy of the pattern. It took me to Knit Picks, and but Interweave and Knit Picks are together the same? I don't really know, but it did say the pattern was on Interweave, but it took me to Knit Picks. There's free download, and printed out the pattern, and I started with the knit version, and the pattern made this size pumpkin, and they suggested using a shade of brown, which probably would be more like an already cut pumpkin, but sometimes you still see the stem in green, and I happen to have orange and green, both in Malabrigo Rios yarn, which is a worsted weight yarn, and I had the colors glazed carrot and lettuce, and I thought this is going to be fine. I did have some brown, not in Malabrigo Rios. I had some brown, but it was fingering weight. I was going to have to double it, and I just thought this will be easier, and I'm very happy with what it is. This is the size pumpkin that I knit up using a size 5 needle. Then I decided I wanted to make a bigger one, And so again, using the size 5 needle. Now this one I did on magic loop. I did this one on double point needles, so it can be done either way. So you see the size difference for me. And I used everything else the same, but I did try a different way to do the stem. This time I did not cut my yarn. I instead tied the green on and continued with the stitches that were being done in the round, and then at the end I reduced a few. So it was a little bit pointier at the tip, but that's all that changes. So to make it larger, if you go to my project page, I sort of spell it out. Since it's a free pattern, I can just say, you start off increasing, and I just continued to increase until I was knitting 11 between the increases. So you'll see the pattern, it just grows. And then I did, I think, 4 additional rounds even, where you're not increasing. And then, of course, the decreases, you have to decrease, again, starting with knit 11 to the decreases. So that made it that much larger then. And then I also wanted to make a smaller one. And so here's the smaller one. So I have a small, medium, and large. And the smaller one, I don't remember. I think I went only to increasing with 6 between the increases, but I do have that written down on my project page to tell you. So yesterday, I've been crocheting on crochet mini blankets, and I do know how to do a granny square, and then I've learned to do the granny square that's solid granny square for my Battenberg blanket. That's all I know about crochet. That's it. And but I thought, I'm going to try it. If I've taught myself to knit on YouTube, if I stumble into problems, I'll go to YouTube. So I did make a crochet version. Now, this is the size of the pattern. However, it turned out for me the size of the large, the one that I enlarged. So if I had been knitting and then crocheting, I would have come out with pumpkins in these sizes. It just depends on your gauge, of course. Crochet, I used this hook. It's a Susan Bates hook. And it is in, keep in mind I can't see. Well, you can check my Ravelry page. I think it is a D. It's a D or an E maybe. So it was about the size of my size 5 knitting needle. I did, there was the way you begin, I did look up, and I was going to do it the suggested way because it said you don't get the hole. But I decided I would do it the way I knew, which is with a ring of chains, because on the knitted ones I had a hole, but I used the hole for making the ridges, so I kind of liked having that as a place for my needle to go through, but ultimately there's no hole. It doesn't show. So I thought, well, I'm just going to do the way I already know how to do it. So I just started with chaining 5 and making a little ring. And when you don't know how to read a crochet pattern, there are lots of things that are implied. Just as in knitting patterns, there are implied things. You know, if you're just knitting something front and back, the pattern doesn't usually say turn the work around. You know you've got to turn it around to do the other side. Well, I think there's a little something about that when you go to the next round here, when you're doing it in the round that you need to. So I kind of figured out what to do and looked up increases, had to increase right away, looked up decreases, very easy to do both, found good tutorials, and I will probably not link them. Then for the stem here, I more or less followed the directions. I think I was off a little bit on my increases and decreases here. They didn't work out as perfectly as knitting, and user error because I don't know what I'm doing. But you know what? I love the way it turned out. So even if you are a beginning crocheter, I think you can crochet this from the directions and a little YouTube support. So that's my craft for today, is the pumpkin clove and spice pumpkin pattern. And If you have some scrap yarn sitting around, give it a try. I'm going to give it a try on some fingering weight yarn I have, and I'm going to put a picture of that yarn here. This was a yarn I purchased from the 10,000 Stitches podcast. She sold this through her Etsy shop. It's called That Pumpkin Drink. So she's made the color after a pumpkin spice latte drink. And it's fingering weight, but it's a tweed. I'm going to double it and try to knit one up doubled, because I think that tweed appearance might look really interesting on one of these pumpkins, because pumpkins come in so many different shapes and sizes and varieties that I think you can make it just about any way and come out with something that looks like a pumpkin. So thanks for tuning in today, and I appreciate you watching, and I may see you back tomorrow. Bye-bye.